So we're going to be having a look at question 21 in the non-calculator foundation tier Edexcel GCSE paper, and this is from Third Space Learning. This question is on page 9. It is a 4-mark question. It is a multi-step problem and it's a little bit confusing. That's why I want to go through it. Before we dive into it, I want to let you know there are 3 main steps to this question, and I will read the question in a second. Step 1 is going to be finding a cost. Step 2 is going to be finding the total takings. And step 3 is going to be finding out how much was charged for each bag. I know that because I've worked with this question before, but for those who hasn't, Rachel is organising a school disco. She buys 120 bags of sweets. The bags of sweets cost Rachel 30 pence each. There is an offer of buy 2 bags, get the third free when she buys them. Rachel wants to make a 25% profit, assuming that Rachel will sell all these bags of sweets. How much does Rachel need to charge for each bag of sweet? Now, there's lots of information here. I would not try and digest it all in one go. I would actually have a look at this top section one more time. For me, it's important to either underline and circle or highlight the key information, and I highly advise this as well. Helps break this down and understand what's important. So Rachel is organising a school disco, doesn't matter. She buys 120 bags of sweets. That sounds important. The bags of sweets cost Rachel 30 pence each. That sounds important. And there's an offer on buy 2 and get the third bag free. Again, important. I'd leave it there and I'd read the second question again in a minute. I want to figure out what's going on up here. So what's even better than underlining or highlighting is actually writing out the information. So 120 bags, 30 pence each. And then here, buy 2 bags, get a third free. So we buy, and we get 1 free. Which means out of the 3, there's 3 in total. And out of those, we buy 2. So we're paying for 2 out of 3 of the bags that we buy. So we're paying for 2 out of 3 of the 120 bags. So to work out how many bags we pay for, we do 120. We divide it by 3 and times that number by 2. This, of course, is 40 times 2, which is 80. We paid for 80 bags. And we paid 30 pence for 80 bags, which means, let's do 3 times 8. It's 24. 2 zeros. We paid 2,400 pence for all the bags. So I paid 2,400 pence. And that was the total cost. We also know it's £24, but I didn't leave it in pence for this question so far. So that's part 1 done. Find the total takings. Well, let's read the next part of the question. Rachel wants to make 25% profit. Assuming that she will sell all the bags of sweets, how much does she need to charge for each bag of sweets? Okay, that sounds to me like 2 different steps. Now, for some people it might sound like 1 step, and for other people it might sound confusing. Let's break it down. She wants to make 25% profit, and that is 1/4. So she has her total cost. Okay, her total cost is 2,400 pence. So she wants that total cost plus an extra quarter of what that total cost was. That's what she wants to be her total takings, the money she goes home with, okay? So this will be her cost that she's acquired in buying the sweets, the cost of buying the sweets, 2,400, add her profit, and she wants that profit to be 1/4 of what her total costs were. So if we just make a note up here, 2,400 divided by 4, cover that up, 24 divided by 4 is 6, 2 zeros. So now we can see that 2,400 add 600 is going to be 3,000 pence. Okay, just to keep it in check and in perspective, if we're turning it into pounds, that would be £30. So we can say we found the total amount of money that she wants to go home with. It's 3,000 pence, which is the amount that she spent on buying the sweets plus a quarter of that, which is going to be a profit. So she wants to take home 3,000 pence. We want to know not how much she goes home with, but how much does she need to charge for each bag of sweets, which means that 3,000 pence is shared by 120 bags of sweets. Shared is telling us we need to divide. So we can go ahead and do 3,000 divided by 120. Cancel these zeros. We'll be left with 300 divided by 12. Quickest way to do this is obviously with bust up method. 12 doesn't go into 3, but 12 does go into 30. We know 12 times 2 is 24, so it goes into 30 twice, with our remainder with difference between 24 and 30 being 6. So our remainder is 6. How many times does 12 go into 60? 12 times 5 equals 60. So it goes into 65 times, which now tells us that the cost of each bag of sweets is 25 pence. For anyone that didn't understand that in this part of the question we have to divide, you can also think about it as the total takings. We get to the total takings by taking the number of bags and timesing them by the price they were charged for. If each bag cost 20 pence, and there's 10 bags, we'd do 20 times 10, 200 pence. Our total taking would be £2. So here we know our total taking is 3,000, and that is equal to 120 times the price of each bag. To find the value of P, we divide both sides by 120. This would obviously become 1. This would become 300 divided by 12. And we'd do this calculation here to find the value of P. Now you might feel like this question is a big question. There's lots of steps. You're a bit confused. You don't know what to do. You can't do all 3 steps. Well, as I mentioned earlier, this is a big 4-marker. So to get marks, you don't need to necessarily get to the end. You will need to write down some calculations though. So write down what you're doing. First of all, I'd write down how many bags she's paying for. So 120 divided by 3 times 2 will get you 80. That's how many bags she's paying for. Then, how much is she paying? 80 times 30 pence each bag. So that's going to get you 2,400 pence. Write that down. If you can ascertain that from this part of the question, make sure you've made a note of it. Next part, 25% profit. So you might want to write down profit is equal to 600 pence. And then next, you'll want to write down the cost and the profit to write how much she takes home. And lastly, you want to share this 3,000 by 120. You can just go ahead and do some sort of bus stop instead of writing that whole thing down, and then at least that way you're showing how you've worked out the answer. And that there is all worth 4 marks. But if you do some of this, you will get some marks, okay? So make sure you work through as much of the question as you can.